everybody and welcome to my studio. I'm Diane and today I thought I would show you how I organise my palette in order to be able to achieve a rich mix of different greens when I'm painting leaves in my florals. So let's get started. As you can see, I use a very large palette, which is a white tray. In England we call them a butcher's tray, and you can buy them in dollar stores or places like that. And I find this is a very good way of mixing colours in a free fashion. And what I've got here is I've laid out a selection of colours that might be new to you, which I know are going to make some very interesting greens. So we've got here turquoise blue deep, Caribbean blue, ultramarine blue deep, and indigo extra. All of those are from Old Holland, but they have equivalents in all the other brands. And then on here we've got the yellows, those are the blues, and then we've got the yellows here. So I've got lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, orange, and Quinacridone Gold. And if you do the math, you've got 4 and 4, I think there are at least 16 ways of mixing those different colours. So you've got basically 16 colours right there that you can mix. And then of course you've got all the variation within those colours depending on the proportions you use of each, whether it's the blue or the yellow tone. So an almost infinite array of colours can be mixed from these 4 colours of blue, 4 colours of yellow, and none of those are green, but put together they will make a marvellous selection of greens. So I'm going to show you how I do it. Now first of all we're going to have a look at the different colours here on their own, and this is the turquoise, which is a very pretty colour, but it's not what you would call a natural colour. It's not a colour from nature, and the point of this particular colour is that mixed with different yellows it will give us a rich range of blues, greens. And this here is Caribbean blue, and again it's a similar tone to this one but much stronger. So if you're looking for a dark green you might be thinking that you would use that. And then we've got ultramarine deep, and that's a completely different blue. See how green this one looks? That's got a green tone compared to this one, which if anything veers towards the, it's a much warmer blue, it veers towards the blue, the red rather. Dear me, I haven't had enough coffee yet this morning. And this is indigo, which this particular indigo is not as dark as some, but this is going to give you a completely different range of greens again. And then the yellows, not going to show up terribly well on my palette here, but this is a lemon yellow, which is a very acidic colour, and then this is a cadmium yellow, which is warmer, as you can see, and then we've got orange, which is a semi-opaque colour. These are transparent, all the blues are transparent, and then this is always a surprise when you put water into Quinacridone Gold and it comes out as a brilliant transparent yellowy orange, orangey yellow colour. So there are our 8 basic colours. If you want details on these colours, where you could get them, where you could get the equivalents, what their names are, and so on and so forth, go to my website and you'll find all the information there. Now the reason for using a big palette like this is so that I have a big area for mixing in the middle. And if you buy a paint set which is in a box with little boxes of paint in the box, usually you get a very, very small mixing area there, and honestly that's absolutely hopeless. Really, it's not intended for proper painting, really seriously not intended for proper mixing. So if you want to advance in your painting and become a freer watercolorist, then you must use a palette. But that palette can just be a white plate, it doesn't have to be anything special. But I think this tray here cost me £1, I think. I have a couple of them, and I use them every day. They really are the only way for me to mix colour is to have plenty of space. Now, when you're exploring greens or exploring new colours on your palette, one of the most exciting, I find anyway, and enjoyable things to do is literally to try out and swatch all your colours. And you can end up with some really interesting discoveries. For example, the other day I was trying to mix Sap Green, and this is Sap Green out of a tube here, and I wanted to see if I could get close to that by mixing different colours. And so I tried Pthalo Blue and lemon, cobalt and lemon, ultramarine and lemon, turquoise and lemon, Pthalo Blue and Scheveningen Yellow, and Hooker's Green and lemon. And I know they're all slightly different, but all of those actually come pretty close to Sap Green, which is out of a tube. And in my honest opinion, these colours are more vibrant. These mixtures that I made, they mix on the paper and they are a much more vibrant result. So when you use those in your painting, you're going to get a more lively looking leaf than if you just use Sap Green out of a tube. And if I use Sap Green at all, ever, I always mix it with another yellow or another blue in order to add some vibrancy to that colour. This can be a good basis, but I would strongly recommend that you never paint your plants using only tube greens. They just aren't lively enough, for my liking anyway. And here's another experiment that I did where I was making olive green. This is the olive out of the tube, and here I was making olive green by mixing Pthalo Blue, Quinacridone Gold, and a little touch of neutral tint, which is a kind of grey. And you can see that this is very close, but again more vibrant. And here we have ultramarine, Quinacridone Gold, and neutral tint. And if you look closely, you can see how much granulation there is in this colour. And the granulation comes from the ultramarine, which is a highly granulating paint. And that gives you an effect which some people don't like that. But if you're painting something with texture and you want it to be interesting and to appeal to the eye and to be lively, this is a very useful thing to know about. And here we have Olive, who is a dull as ditch water colour on her own. She needs something added to her. So Olive from the tube, not my favourite. But you can add a little yellow or a little ultramarine to Olive just to change her up a bit, give her a little bit more interest. And then here's another one where I'm mixing cobalt blue, neutral tint, Quinacridone Gold to get Olive again. And this has some granulation because cobalt blue has a little granulating power, but not as much as ultramarine. So that's a lovely shade of a neutral kind of green. So that was me playing the other day. And again, if you want this information to be written down for you, you can find it on our website. Excuse me. So I'm just going to show you some mixes here on the palette. Let's see what happens when we put turquoise with lemon yellow. This is clearly a fairly weak tinting colour, so we might want to use quite a bit more of the blue. And what we're getting here is a something that doesn't look, to me, that doesn't look at all natural. And so I probably wouldn't use that as a green in a painting of nature, flowers and so on and so forth. But I wonder what will happen if I use Quinacridone Gold instead for my yellow. Now that's a little bit more interesting. That looks more like a leaf colour to me, I think, don't you? So this is another one of the beauties of Quinacridone Gold. It's what I call a perfect mixer. It's the kind of person you want to invite to your parties, because a little bit of Quinacridone Gold can really set things going. And we have Quinacridone Gold now with Caribbean Blue, and that's absolutely fantastic, isn't it? and then a little bit more blue in there. I'll bring it up to a slightly darker tint, a more bluish. Look at that. Quinacridone Gold and turquoise and Caribbean blue. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to go on now from having started with the mixing. I'm going to show you a few different ways of painting leaves using your mixture of greens that you're going to make from these colours. If you want to see me mixing up the other colours, I'll be doing another video of that later, and there'll also be some information on the website at dianeantone.com. So, but for now I'm going to just have a little play with some greens that I'm going to mix up here from the different colours. So we've got Quinacridone Gold here mixed with ultramarine blue, giving us a green. And what I like to do is not to mix the paint too thoroughly, so you get different shades coming through when you actually use the brush on the paper. So this is what you call a loose mix. And when I'm using a size 14 round nylon brush here, and when you press onto the paper with the brush, you're going to get a mixture of colours like that. And if you press down and then release, you get something resembling a leaf. And then you can draw the stem just very lightly like that, and you can put another leaf like that. And these ones are all going to be roughly the same colour, but not exactly the same colour. And if you want to make them a little bit darker at the base, you can drop in some paint at the base, which will then spread up into the leaf. You can also go that way round and twist your brush to give a more random effect. Or you can do two strokes like that. 1, 2. And then you can drop in a bit more dark down the bottom if you want, again. And then in order to indicate the veins, you can use one of these Japanese bamboo pens. It's a dip pen, or you can use the corner of a credit card cut up, or you can use just a stick like this. It's just off of a tree, or you can use a feather, the end of the feather, the quill, and then just pull through the paint like that. And then you'll see that the paint will be running then into the paper more deeply where you've scratched it, so you get veins in the leaf. And then another example of a different leaf would be, let's see, something like a rose leaf, which is more fat like that and has a jagged edge. So you just make the edge jagged by pushing out a little bit, and you can pull out that way too. And then you can put something darker at the bottom, and that will all bleed through. And if you do that, you get a nice set of veins on the leaf. And then sometimes it's nice if you pull out from the bottom like that to indicate that's not working very well because it's not wet enough. A beautiful mix of colours there. Sometimes it's nice just to do serrations on one side of the leaf. And we can add a little more yellow and come in on the other side. Maybe something dark at the bottom on that one too. And that one. And not to forget the veins. And then maybe we'll do some long thin ones. This is the effect you get when you don't mix the paint thoroughly, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. And again, we can come in and draw veins. And if you wanted to do something really variegated, you could start with a very light undertone, undercolor here. Let's say we're painting some kind of house plant with a light leaf, and then if you wait a second or two, then you can drop in a dark, very dark green, which is mixed from orange, and I'm mixing this from orange and ultramarine here, and a bit of quinacridone. And then just drop that into the middle and let that run. And maybe add some more lemon, perhaps. I'm experimenting here, really. You can either draw the stem first or you can draw the stem after. But when you have a loose mix in your brush, and if you use a fairly big brush, this is easier if you use a fairly big brush, you get a lot more interest in your leaves. So there we are. Leaves using the colours I mentioned before. If you'd like to give it a go, have a look on my website for some more instructions and have a nice little play. So that's all for now. I'll let you go, and it's nearly time to start cooking lunch, so I'll be back later and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.